Hello everybody, welcome back to the Yotso Tech Tracks YouTube channel. This is Yotso again, talking about some of the features and options on this 2016 Ram 1500 pickup truck I have. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, this is the starting point of an overlanding vehicle that I'm going to be using in nice weather to take the family camping, overlanding, touring, just adventures here and there, just with the vehicle or with a small camper trailer and all that's associated with it. I made a couple of videos already regarding some of the powertrain in this vehicle, but today let's talk a little bit about the transfer case that this vehicle has. This vehicle has what is called the Borg 44-45 transfer case. This is a part-time unit. It has basically 4 different positions you can operate it in. It is 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive lock, 4-wheel drive low, and a neutral position. Basically, this is very similar to any Jeep transfer case. If you have, for example, a Wrangler with a part-time transfer case. I came from a 2011 Jeep Wrangler, so I'm quite familiar with these units. I've had very similar ones in past vehicles. Basically, this vehicle came standard with this transfer case from the factory if you get the 4-wheel drive option, and in some of the versions of this pickup truck you can get something that is referred to as an all-wheel drive transfer case. Let me explain how that one works. I believe that one is a Borg 44-44, and it has the same knob settings, dial settings as this transfer case does. It is both electronically shifted by a rotary knob that is located on the dashboard to the right of the driver, just beside the steering wheel. That transfer case differs from this one as mainly to the average customer, you will notice a 4-wheel drive auto function. Now, this transfer case, the 44-44 full-time 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, if you like to call it, basically in regular operations in 2-wheel drive, it is sending power to the rear wheels. This is a front-engine rear-wheel drive layout, so in 2-wheel drive there's no torque transfer to the front axle. When you do engage the auto 4-wheel drive auto setting in the 44-44 transfer case, inside the transfer case there is a wet clutch pack, and the front axle is only powered by that clutch pack. It is computer controlled. It varies the voltage to basically an electromagnetic clutch, and it squeezes these clutch packs together for power transfer to the front axle, and that is determined by the vehicle computer. Now the transfer case I have, which is the 44-45, the base model, is actually a mechanical transfer case where it is basically a mechanical connection in 4-wheel drive high and 4-wheel drive low, and it differs with the optional all-wheel drive transfer case where in that one the front axle is only powered by a clutch pack. That means that it is limited by how much torque it can transfer based on how much that clutch pack can squeeze together and send to the front axle. It is also a very good system. There is nothing wrong with it if you use it as intended. However, when going to off-road situations such as where you need more demand of the front axle, other people have commented on this subject, and there's quite a lot of videos out there about the Borg 44-44 is a little bit misleading, where if you put it into lock mode, it is supposed to send 50-50 torque split, such as this transfer case I have. However, with that one, it is limited by the friction of that clutch pack. So you can overheat that, you can overexert that clutch pack if you put large demand on it. So for example, let's say you're driving in very deep slushy snow for extended periods of time, your foot is into it, and you are asking a lot of that transfer case. You can overheat that, you can cause it to slip, and in that case, the lock, 4-wheel drive lock feature in that transfer case is not quite the same as in this base model transfer case, because in this one, when you put it into 4-wheel drive lock, it is basically locking a mechanical connection to the front axle. Now the downside to this transfer case, the base model, the one that I have, the 44-45, is you can say it cannot be used on any drive pavement when you are making any kind of a turn, because you need different wheel speeds to allow the vehicle to go around the corner. Basically, the outside wheels have to travel a further arc, and basically all four wheels on the vehicle have to turn at different speeds, and you need a give in the system to be able to provide that. And if you don't have that type of leniency in the design, the vehicle will tend to crab or hop. If anybody ever experienced that, it is basically the powertrain is binding up because the front and rear axles are mechanically connected together, and it does not allow any differentiation in speed, which you actually require with a high traction surface, such as if you want to use four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive on drive pavement. There's many different designs out there. Some transfer cases have a clutch pack, such as the optional one in this truck. Some of them use a viscous coupling, some of them use a mechanical center differential, and then again you can get into different versions, such as a clutch pack associated with that differential, and so on and so forth. Basically, this base model transfer case, the only limitation is you cannot use it on drive pavement when you are negotiating any turns. Even straight line, you shouldn't use it on high traction surfaces, because the tires are never really the same diameter, even if you put equal pressure in it. Vehicles have different weights, front and rear, side to side, so those tires tend to bulge a little bit front to rear, side to side, which means that it is going to cause the driveline to bind up. And then again, in dry surfaces, such as the video you're watching right now, this is basically city driving. You do not need four-wheel drive, because there's plenty of traction for the drive wheels. The situation where the 44-44 all-wheel drive transfer case would come in handy, for example, is somebody who doesn't want to play around with the transfer case too much, is not familiar really when to engage it or disengage it. So in that case, it would definitely cause less trouble down the road if you misuse the system. For example, you can put it into four-wheel drive auto and leave it there all year long. And when the computer detects that the rear axle is turning faster than the front axle, it is going to apply power voltage to that electromagnetic clutch, and as required by the onboard computer, it is going to transfer as much torque to the front axle as required, and when the wheel speeds are same or very similar, it is going to relax that clutch pack. So it is always playing around with it. Now for myself, as from previous videos, if you watched any of them, I would like something that is going to last a very long time with my vehicles. I tend to go for simplistic designs, such as this truck. It has a very simple engine, a very simple transmission, and the transfer case is basically bulletproof if you don't misuse it. The only thing I can do to abuse this transfer case is basically leave it in four-wheel drive lock, such as right now in drive pavement, and that will definitely put a large strain on the powertrain. Basically everything from the motor mounts to the chain in the transfer case, the universal joints for the drive shafts, the front CV axle, the suspension, bushings, everything is going to be wanting to fight the traction, which is asking it to do something that it is not designed to do. So once again, this transfer case, this Borg 44-45, is very similar to a part-time transfer case found in the Jeep, and that one is basically used for off-road situations only. In my understanding, my situation, my past experience, I've never really needed four-wheel drive on high traction surfaces such as concrete or asphalt. Mostly I use them when the vehicle is stuck, or if I know I'm going to go into loose surfaces such as very steep gravel roads or slushy roads, snowy roads, or I'm pulling a camper, for example, a very large camper uphill, and I would not like the wheels to start slipping for many different reasons. You lose traction, you lose control, and even tire spin can cause tire damage. You can cut tires. The tread is basically rubber, so in slow situations that benefits me, which is the reason I prefer this transfer case. Once again, this is the Borg 44-45. It is a very stout unit made by the Borg Warner company. They supply mechanical transfer cases and a lot of different drive units for different vehicles all around the world. North American, Japanese, all over. You can find those in many different vehicles. It uses regular automatic transmission fluid. If I'm not mistaken, it is the ATF Plus 4. Some of them use the Dextron 3, which is a very similar type of fluid. Now the Borg Warner 44-44 all-wheel drive transfer case, that one would need a specialized fluid or perhaps a fixturing modifier, because those clutch packs have to have a certain friction to be able to engage properly. This one is basically just a simple gearbox with a chain inside it. The coupler, when you turn the rotary dial, it basically turns an electric motor on both those transfer cases alike. One thing I would have liked on this Ram 1500 pickup truck is, for example, as in the Jeep Wranglers, you just have a lever to engage the transfer case. I'm not really thrilled about the electronic rotary dial, because that is just one more thing to go wrong in the long run. I prefer something that's very simplistic, and a lever and a rod that you're physically shifting the transfer case is, in my eyes, it's all you need. This type of rotary knob it's good if you want to prevent warranty issues if you're the manufacturer, because the dial, when you're turning it in from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive to low range, it is basically a request to the onboard computer. It is not really a live one-to-one setting. For example, if you turn it into four-wheel drive, it will not engage four-wheel drive as soon as possible. The situation has to be right. For example, you have to shift the vehicle into neutral or park or whatever the vehicle is programmed to. So in those cases, yes, it can prevent certain damage if the operator doesn't know how to use it properly. However, if you're familiar with these type of vehicles, you might agree with me that in the long run, the more complexity you have in the vehicle, the more things you have to go wrong. So eventually, the dial, if it breaks, you could be stuck in two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. If the electric actuator on this transfer case malfunctions in any way whatsoever, you're going to be, again, stuck in two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, which is going to be an issue because, let's say you're in a campsite, you're stuck in four-wheel drive, and you have to drive home hundreds of kilometers. You don't want to do that in a high-traction surface with four-wheel drive. You are going to cause some drivetrain damage, and especially when the vehicle is loaded. You're pulling a camper, the front and rear of the vehicle are very heavily loaded, and it would not allow any slip of the tires. And that is one thing I have to keep in mind in this vehicle. I also mentioned in previous videos, I did fabricate a skid plate that I put right underneath the transfer case. This is more for basically keeping road debris out of that actuator. There's a large electronic actuator on the back of the transfer case, as I mentioned, on both of these units, the 44-44 and 44-45. So I believe it will benefit any vehicle just to have some protection from gravel roads, rock salt, water, any kind of damage that can get into that connector, or anything that you can keep away from that actuator. You're going to extend its life. Keep it clean, keep it safe, and keep it from getting damaged. That is basically the only thing I did with this vehicle as far as the transfer case goes, just a little bit of protection. I still have plenty of room underneath for draining and filling. Around every 50,000 kilometers, I like to drain and fill my powertrain as far as the transmission, transfer case, front and rear differentials, especially a newer vehicle like this, which has the original break-in oil, you can say, from the factory. You get rid of the fluid, you put clean fluid in, and you cannot cause any problems if you do it properly. So that is my view on this transfer case in this pickup truck. Hopefully it's going to provide years and years of trouble-free service. Once again, electronics are always one more thing to go wrong, but it is what it is. Nowadays, manufacturers tend to do this for many different reasons. I suppose one of the good things about it is there's not a lever sticking out from the floor, and because this Dodge Ram 1500 is a 6-passenger vehicle, there's 3 in the front, 3 in the back. If you don't have that lever sticking out from the floor, you do have a little bit more legroom. I agree with that, but then again, for me, somebody like me who doesn't have a passenger in the front middle seat all the time, that's not a big deal. I would rather have something simplistic and avoid and other issues that can go wrong in the future. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Join me for more in-depth vehicle reviews regarding this and other vehicles I have in the family, projects I work on, and just sharing my thoughts with everybody. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Let me know anything I can assist people with in the community. We can all work together and overcome obstacles, and the sky's the limit. So thank you for watching. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you like, and I will see you next time on the Yotso Tech Tracks YouTube channel. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.